This is a very interesting story about how I made printouts of all the people she cheated on me with and put them in a box with a Dyson, and she opened it all in front of her relatives on her birthday. When I first met her, I thought she was different. That's how it always starts, right? But really, she did seem different. She had that smile that made you forget what you were saying mid-sentence. That kind of warmth in her eyes that makes you believe she could never lie. Not to you, not to anyone. We met through a mutual friend at a casual get-together. Nothing fancy. Just drinks, music, and strangers trying not to feel awkward. She stood out immediately. Not because she was loud, but because she wasn't. She had a quiet confidence, like she didn't need to compete with anyone to be noticed. I was drawn in, and as it turned out, so was she. We started talking that night. Just small things, music, work, the usual. She laughed at my dry jokes. I complimented her, without overdoing it. It felt easy. And before I left, she asked for my number. That never happened to me before. I walked home smiling like an idiot. The first few months were everything I thought a relationship should be. We texted nonstop, met almost every day. She'd stay over, cooking little meals even when I told her I could handle it. She'd tease me for being too serious, too techie, always glued to my laptop, and I'd roll my eyes, call her dramatic, but secretly love how she disrupted my routine. I introduced her to my friends. She charmed them instantly. She brought me to meet her parents. They hugged me like I was already family. I won't lie, I was falling. Fast. We celebrated our 1-month anniversary, like kids. 2 months later, I gave her a key to my apartment. By month 5, we were talking long-term plans, vacations, maybe even moving in officially. She said she'd never felt so safe with someone before. And I believed her, because back then I had no reason not to. Looking back now, the signs were probably there. Little things. Sometimes she'd come home late, without much of an explanation. She'd get weirdly defensive when I asked where she'd been. Once, I remember asking why she had 2 missed calls from an unknown number. She smiled and said, "Don't go full paranoid boyfriend on me now." And I laughed it off, because she was mine, because she chose me, because we were good. I was working late one evening when I got a text from an old acquaintance, Vadim, a guy I hadn't spoken to in over a year. He worked security at a well-known nightclub downtown. The message just said, "Hey, I need to show you something. It's about your girl." At first, I thought he was joking. Or maybe he saw someone who just looked like her. But then he sent a video. The club, the back entrance, the date stamp from 2 nights ago. And there she was, holding hands with someone else, kissing him, getting into a cab. I stared at the screen for so long it dimmed itself out. Then came more messages. I didn't want to get involved, man. But this isn't the first time. I've seen her leave with different guys. A lot. I asked how many. He replied, "About 30 over the past year." My stomach dropped. I didn't respond right away. I just sat there, phone in hand, numb. This wasn't a bad night or a misunderstanding. This was a pattern. A whole double life. And I'd been asleep through all of it. I wanted to scream, punch a wall, break something. But I didn't. Instead, I did what I always do when something doesn't compute. I made a plan. She always talked about wanting a Dyson hairdryer. And those high-end AirPods, the Max ones. She pointed them out every time we passed an Apple store. Her birthday was coming up. Her whole family would be there. Parents, cousins, friends. She expected gifts. And I'd give them to her. Just not the way she expected. After Vadim sent the videos, I couldn't sleep for 2 nights. Not because I was sad. Not really. What I felt was worse than sadness. I felt humiliated. You give someone everything, your time, your trust, your name next to theirs in every plan you make, and they treat it like background noise. Disposable. Replaceable. I kept replaying every night she told me she was just tired or out with the girls. All the evenings she claimed her phone had died. The work trips that didn't match up with her schedule. Every lie suddenly made sense. And the worst part? She knew I trusted her. That's what made it easy for her. But I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to message her some dramatic paragraph or beg for answers. No, she didn't deserve my confusion. She deserved clarity. So I waited, and I started preparing. Her birthday was coming up in less than 2 weeks. She had already dropped hints. You know what I want, right? You're not going to get me something boring this year, promise? My mom's cooking a big dinner. Everyone will be there. You better show up looking sharp. I smiled and nodded. Don't worry. I've got the perfect surprise. I ordered the boxes online. Dyson Supersonic Hair Dryer. AirPods Max, Silver Edition. Premium packaging. Perfectly sealed. Exactly like she'd seen in every influencer unboxing video she drooled over. Only mine came with a little twist. I printed the photos Vadim sent me. One by one, her with random guys. Drunk, leaning into their necks. Wrapped around them in taxis. Kissing behind the alley near the club exit. 30 images. 30 betrayals. I printed them on glossy paper, not out of cruelty, but for clarity. I folded them neatly. Slipped them inside both boxes, just under the instruction manuals. I added a note at the top of each. You always wanted these. I just thought you should see what they cost me. I rehearsed everything. My posture, my tone, my timing. I wasn't going to make a scene. I was going to make a statement. Her birthday arrived on Saturday. I dressed well, buttoned down, clean shoes, shaved. Not for her, for me, because if this was going to be my exit, I wanted to walk out standing taller than she ever expected me to. Her parents welcomed me like always, warm smiles, hugs. Her mom patted my arm like I was already family. She came out of the kitchen, glowing. Look at you, she smiled. You wore the shirt I like. I smiled back. I thought today deserved something special. She kissed my cheek in front of everyone like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't sold every bit of trust one gave her for the thrill of 15-minute backseat kisses and blurry nights. I held her hand through dinner, laughed at jokes, helped pour drinks. I was perfect until it was time for gifts. She opened a few things first. A perfume bottle, a scarf, a bracelet. Then her eyes lit up when she saw my bags. The Dyson box came first. Her eyes widened. She giggled like a child. Oh my God, are you serious? Open it, I said gently. She tore through the paper, popped the lid. Confused silence. Her fingers pulled out the folded photos, and her face changed. First confusion, then denial, then horror. She looked at me. I didn't flinch. Gasps spread across the room. Her mother leaned forward, squinting at the image now lying on her daughter's lap. The second box, the one with the AirPods, sat unopened, but she didn't touch it. She knew what was in it now. Her hands trembled. Wait, this isn't, she started. It is, I said calmly. It's exactly what it looks like. I stood up slowly, looked around the room. Her family still frozen. Her father staring down like he couldn't believe what he saw. I just wanted everyone here to know. I said, what I've been living with for the past year. Then I looked at her one last time. You lied. Repeatedly. Easily. I loved you. Quietly. Fully. But now, we're done. Loudly. I walked to the door. No yelling. No begging. No chaos. Just truth, finally laid bare. And as I stepped out into the cool evening air, the weight in my chest lifted. For the first time in a year, I didn't feel like someone's secret. I felt like myself. When I stepped outside her parents' house that night, I didn't look back. Not even once. There's something sacred about a clean exit. No hesitation, no noise, no last words muttered under your breath. Just the door closing behind you. Click, and then silence. The air felt different. Lighter, sharper, like the oxygen itself didn't carry her name anymore. I walked down the street with my hands in my pockets, the cold biting at my fingers, but my chest felt warm, not from pride, but from relief. I didn't go home. Not immediately. I booked a hotel for 2 nights. Not far, just far enough. I didn't want to be anywhere she could reach. I needed space, not just physically, but mentally. A bubble of quiet where no one could question me. Not her, not her parents. Not even my own doubt. When I checked in, the receptionist smiled politely. "Just you?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Just me." And it felt good. I lay on the bed that night, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in months, my phone was silent. No buzzing, no demands, no fake sweetness masking a web of lies. Just peace. That rare, underrated feeling you only appreciate once you've lived without it long enough. She didn't call. Not that night. Not the next day. But I saw her try. I didn't block her. Not yet. I wanted her to know that the silence wasn't because I was hiding. It was because I was finished. She sent a message the following afternoon. "Please, can we talk?" I read it. Didn't respond. Then came another. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just got lost." I smiled bitterly. They always say that. As if you can accidentally kiss 30 men and wake up surprised. I checked out of the hotel the next morning and went back to my apartment. She hadn't come by. She knew better. Her things were still there. A few clothes, a necklace, some old hair clips in the bathroom drawer. I packed it all into a single box, taped it shut, wrote her name on the top with a black marker, and left it with the building concierge. No message, no letter inside. Just her history neatly sealed. I changed the locks the same day. Booked a short trip to another city for weekend. Somewhere with fewer memories, fewer shadows. I needed to feel like a person again. Someone who didn't accept betrayal as routine. Someone who didn't shrink just to keep someone else feeling tall. On the train, I watched the scenery pass, fast and soft, like everything I used to believe. I remembered a night months ago when she was asleep on my chest, and I was scrolling through our photos, smiling like a fool. I actually whispered, "I hope this lasts forever." I didn't know back then. Some people only stay long enough to destroy the version of you that let them in. She messaged again the next week. A voice note this time. I didn't listen, because what could she possibly say? That she was sorry? That it meant nothing? That I was different from the others? I wasn't. Not to her. And I'm done pretending I was. I unfollowed her on everything. Not out of spite. Out of self-respect. Because closure doesn't always come from conversation. Sometimes it comes from choosing not to invite poison back into your system. She thought I'd break down. Thought I'd need answers. But I didn't. Because I saw everything I needed to see. And now I'm building something new. A version of myself that doesn't beg for love. That doesn't tolerate emotional scraps. That doesn't sit silently at the dinner table. Knowing the person across from me is already someone else's secret. She'll tell her own version of what happened. Maybe that I overreacted. That I was too sensitive. That I embarrassed her. Let her. I don't need the last word. I just need it out. And now I'm free. Coming back from that weekend away felt like shedding old skin. The kind of skin that used to flinch at every ringtone. That panicked when a message wasn't answered in 5 minutes. That lived in constant fear of not being enough. I stepped into my apartment, dropped my bag by the door, and took a breath. Not a deep one. Just natural. No weight. No guilt. No second pair of shoes by the door. Just me. And for once, that felt like plenty. I spent the first few days keeping my head down. Cleaning. Working. Reading the book I'd started 3 months ago, but couldn't finish because she didn't like silence in the evenings. Now, I sat in silence every night. And it didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. I'd started noticing things I hadn't paid attention to in ages. The way the afternoon light came through the curtains. The quiet rhythm of my neighbor's footsteps upstairs. The hum of my own breath when I was actually calm. I didn't realize how much noise she brought with her until it was gone. Dennis came by midweek. He'd been one of the first to suspect her. He never said, "I told you so." Didn't need to. Instead, he handed me a 6-pack and said, "You good?" I nodded, getting there. We drank in silence for a while before he finally said it. "You did the right thing, man. She didn't deserve the way you treated her." I looked at him. "You mean how well I treated her?" He smiled sadly. "Exactly. People say time heals. I think time just gives you a better lens. You stop looking at things with what you hoped they were, and you start seeing them for what they actually were. She didn't love me. She loved the comfort I gave her, the validation, the stability she could lean on while doing whatever she wanted behind my back. That's not love. That's entitlement wrapped in affection. A week passed with no new messages, no new fake apologies. It felt like spring after a long, gray winter. Not loud, just cleaner, lighter. One night, I made dinner for myself. Really made it. Chopped vegetables, played soft jazz, poured a glass of wine. I didn't think about her once while I cooked. That's how I knew the healing had begun. When the kitchen stopped feeling like a place she used to stand in and started feeling like mine again. I opened a fresh notebook that evening. Wrote a simple line on the first page. This is where I begin. No agenda, no resolutions. Just the awareness that this space, this moment, belonged only to me now. She'll never know this version of me. The one who doesn't wait around to be chosen. The one who isn't afraid of starting over. The one who doesn't carry shame for leaving someone who didn't deserve to stay. And honestly, that's her loss. The quiet she left me with, it isn't a void. It's freedom. And every day, I fill it with something better than her noise ever offered. Myself. It's funny what people remember. A smell, a sound, the way someone said your name when they still meant it. But me, I don't remember her like that anymore. I remember her in silence, in betrayal wrapped with lipstick, in the back door of a club she thought I'd never see. 3 weeks passed. The air got colder. My days got fuller. And the nights got quieter in a way I now craved. I didn't think about her when I woke up. Didn't scroll through old photos. Didn't replay moments to find where I went wrong. Because I didn't go wrong. She did. But of course, just when you start rebuilding, they show up again. Not physically, not yet. Digitally. It started with a like. One of my old posts from back when we were together. A photo of a coffee cup and laptop. Simple. Forgettable. Except she liked it. At 2:14 a.m. I stared at the notification, then locked my phone. No emotion, just recognition. I knew what was coming. And sure enough, the message landed the next day. I miss you. That was it. No name. No context. Just those 3 words like they were a key to a door she'd locked from the outside. I didn't answer, but I reread it a few times. Not because I was tempted, but because I was curious. Curious what it must feel like to stand in the ruins of something you destroyed and expect the other person to come clean it up. 2 days later, another message. Can we talk? I was stupid. I know that now. This time I didn't even open it. I just stared at the notification, then deleted it. Dennis called me that evening. She texted me. He said, of course she did. She wants to know if you're okay, if there's a way to fix it. I laughed quietly. Not the bitter kind, the free kind. Tell her I'm not angry. I said, just done. There's power in being done. It's not like slamming a door. It's like building a wall. Quiet, brick by brick, until the person on the other side realizes they have no way back in. And no idea when they lost access. I don't hate her. Truly, I don't. Hate requires energy, tension, attachment. I feel none of that. I feel clarity. And clarity is the final stage of healing. She probably tells her friends a different story. That I ghosted her. That I embarrassed her. That I was too dramatic about it all. But I'm not here to fix her narrative. I'm here to live mine. Karina, a designer I've been working with on a freelance project, invited me for coffee last week. She didn't know anything about my past. And when we talked, it didn't feel like I had to filter my pain. I told her I'd been through something rough. She didn't ask for the drama. She just nodded and said, I'm glad you're here now. No pity, just presence. That's the difference. Some people love you because it's easy. Some love you because you're useful. But the real ones, they love you because they see you, even when you're not shining. She doesn't get to come back now. Not because I want revenge, but because I've already rebuilt what she burned. And it's stronger now. Simpler. Quieter. And finally mine. A month passed. Then 2. And by then, it didn't feel like waiting anymore. It felt like living. She had become something like a deleted file, not erased in rage, not buried in grief, just no longer relevant to the system. People ask me sometimes, friends who weren't in the loop, former colleagues who knew we were dating, a distant cousin who had followed us both online. Hey, how are things with you two? And I just smile. Over. Cleanly. That was enough. I didn't explain. Didn't reopen a wound that wasn't bleeding anymore. Because once you close that door yourself, you stop needing the world to understand why. Her number was still in my phone. I didn't delete it. Not because I want to keep it, but because it didn't hold power anymore. You only erase what you fear you might be tempted by. I had none of that left. One afternoon, I was walking home from the coffee shop near my place, the one where they write your name with little hearts for no reason, when I saw her. She was across the street, talking to someone I didn't recognize, laughing at something he said. I stopped, just for a second, and watched. She hadn't changed much. Still dressed sharp, still carried herself like the world owed her something. But in that moment, she just looked small, not in size, in presence, because I realized there was a time I would have frozen seeing her again, would have ducked into a store, looked the other way, panicked over what she might say. But now I just stood there, finished my coffee, and walked on. She didn't see me, or maybe she did. Either way, it didn't matter. You don't need someone to apologize when you've already accepted what they are. You don't need to hear, "I'm sorry I hurt you," when the silence already taught you everything. And you definitely don't need to prove you're better off, when being better off is your everyday reality. Karina and I went on a small trip the next weekend. Just 2 days. Coastal town. No plan. We laughed too much. Ate street food that made our stomachs hurt. Took photos that didn't need filters. She asked me one night, when the stars were out and the ocean was breathing loud, "Do you think you're fully over her?" I didn't even need to pause. "Yes," I said, "because I finally remember what peace feels like." And she smiled like that answer was enough. That's the thing. You don't always get closure with a period. Sometimes it's just the end of a sentence you stop reading. And once you stop reading it, you never miss it again. I hope she's okay. I really do. Not because I want her back, but because I want to live in a world where people can grow, even the ones who hurt you. But whether she does or doesn't, that's not my burden anymore. She had her chance. She burned it, and I rebuilt from the ash. It was a Thursday night when she tried again. I just finished a client call, made dinner, and sat on the couch with my laptop, half working, half watching some crime documentary I'd probably rewatch later. My phone buzzed. Blocked number. I ignored it. Buzzed again. Then once more. 3 calls in under 5 minutes. Then came the message. "It's me. Please, just talk to me." No name. Didn't need one. I knew that voice even without hearing it. I stared at the screen for a while, let the vibration die out in my palm. Then I turned the phone over and let it face the table. Didn't block her. Didn't answer. Didn't even open the message. Because nothing she could say would change anything. She was too late. Too late for answers. Too late for apologies. Too late for redemption. And I wasn't holding the door anymore. Back when it happened. When I first saw those videos, the photos, the proof, I had so many questions. Why? With who? Was I not enough? How could she look me in the eyes after nights like that? But now I didn't want answers. Because I'd already found the one that mattered. She didn't care. Not like I did. Not with the same weight. Not with the same cost. And you don't chase explanations from people who gamble with your loyalty. You just let them lose. I told Karina about the call the next day. She didn't get jealous. Didn't press. She just asked, "You okay?" And I said, "Yeah." Just surprised it took her this long. We didn't talk about it after that. Didn't need to. Because when someone truly belongs in your present, they don't make you relive your past just to prove they're different. They show you they are. Quietly. Consistently. And she had. I started doing things again that I hadn't done in over a year. I went to the gym, not to get revenge fit, just to feel my body wake up again. I booked a weekend hike with some old friends, slept better, dreamed lighter. I stopped walking through the world like I was still healing, because I wasn't, not anymore. One night, a friend asked me, "What would you say to her if you had the chance?" I thought about it, and I realized nothing. I wouldn't say a word. Not because I had nothing to say, but because everything I needed her to know was in what I didn't say, in the silence, in the no response, in the peace she no longer had access to. That's the thing people don't understand about walking away. It's not about proving a point. It's about refusing to live at the edge of betrayal. It's about finally choosing yourself and meaning it. She called again a few days later, this time from a different number. I watched it ring, and then I let it ring, because the version of me that would have picked up, he's gone, and he's never coming back. People still call what I did leaving. They say it like I escaped something terrible, like I fled a fire or ran from danger or barely got out alive. But the truth is, I didn't run. I just chose. Not her, not revenge, just me. There's a difference between escaping and choosing. One is about fear. The other is about clarity. I wasn't afraid of her. I was afraid of losing myself in someone who didn't care if I disappeared. And when I finally saw it, I didn't run. I stood. I looked her in the eye. And I walked. That's what they never expect from the quiet ones. Not fire, not fury, but finality, the kind that doesn't scream. It just never looks back. Lately, I've been saying no more often, to old friends who only reach out when they need something, to invites I'd only accept out of guilt, to thoughts that start with what if I had, because I don't live in those versions of me anymore. The one who waited, the one who excused, the one who bent and bent and bent, just to make someone else comfortable in their own disrespect. He's gone, and I don't mourn him. I honor him for surviving, but I don't bring him with me. Karina noticed a change, not in how I talk, but in how I breathe. One night, we sat on the balcony. She had her legs over mine. I had a glass of wine in one hand, her fingers in the other. She said, "You're different now." I asked, "How?" She said, "You're not waiting for anything anymore, not even peace. You already have it." And that stopped me, because she was right. I'm not waiting for closure, not for karma, not for her to hurt like I did. I don't need justice. I just need it out. She doesn't know this version of me, the one who doesn't apologize for having standards, the one who walks away the first time respect is missing, the one who chooses silence over explanations, because people who care don't need explanations. They need consistency, and she was never that. I don't think she'll try again, not because she respects my space, but because she finally understands. I meant it. I wasn't bluffing. This wasn't a break. This was over. I look around my apartment now and feel proud, not because it's expensive, not because it's impressive, but because it's honest. Every shelf, every cup, every moment of quiet. None of it needs defending. None of it has to pretend. It's real. Like me, I didn't escape her. I chose myself. And I'll keep choosing. There was a time I thought we'd get married, even when no one. I don't say that with shame, especially back then. I truly believed it. Not because she was perfect, not because we were, but because I was so desperate to hold on to something that looked like love. I didn't care how much it cost to keep pretending. And now I look at that version of myself, and I don't feel anger. I feel compassion. He didn't know better, but I do now. I passed by the club a few nights ago, the one Vadim worked at, the same club where it all began to unravel. It was almost empty, lights dim, rain misting the sidewalk like something out of a movie. I didn't stop, didn't even slow down. But for a moment, I remembered how it felt to get that first message from him, that first video, that first realization that I wasn't crazy, I was right. And the only thing more painful than betrayal is knowing you let it keep happening. But I didn't let it happen anymore. I stopped it. I exposed it. And I walked. So no, I don't look at that place with bitterness. I look at it like a burnt bridge. It needed to go up in flames so I could stop crossing it. Karina and I had dinner with some friends last weekend. She introduced me as the calmest person I know. I almost laughed, because if she only knew, I used to feel like I was living inside a storm I couldn't name, always trying to read the forecast by someone else's mood, always wondering if I was too much or not enough. Now I feel like a steady sky, not because everything's perfect, but because I finally learned how to hold the umbrella myself. I got a message from one of her cousins a few days later, out of nowhere. Don't know what happened between you two, but just so you know, we all liked you. You didn't deserve whatever that was. I didn't reply. I didn't need to, because I don't live in the shadow of who I was in her family's eyes, or her version of the truth. I live here, in my present, where my peace doesn't require validation. She doesn't come up in conversations anymore, not even in my thoughts. When I dream now, it's not about confrontation. It's not about closure. It's not about her. It's just silence and breath and whatever tomorrow brings. She was a chapter, messy, loud, painful, but over. And now she's not even a chapter. She's just a story I use to tell myself. Know what I realized? About there's no victory in walking away from someone who never saw your value. There's just peace. And peace doesn't look like revenge. It doesn't feel like applause. It feels like nothing. And nothing is beautiful. I didn't win. There was no prize. No crowd. No, I told you so. There was just me, in an apartment filled with my own air, my own music, my own voice. And for the first time in years, I liked the sound of it. She doesn't call anymore. Maybe she finally got it. Or maybe she found someone else to entertain her chaos. Doesn't matter. Because what we had, it wasn't a love story. It was a warning. I still keep the photos. Not of her, of me. The me that stayed silent too long. The me that wanted so badly to be enough. The me that mistook survival for love. I look at those pictures sometimes, and I don't flinch. I honor him, because he got me here. He cracked so I could build. Karina, and I still don't label things. We don't need to. We laugh. We sit in comfortable silence. She knows when I'm thinking too much before I say a word. That's the kind of connection I didn't believe in before. Now, I just let it happen. No expectations. No performing. Just being. And that's more love than I ever got pretending to be someone else. She'll tell her version of the story for years. That I was too quiet, too intense, too sensitive. And maybe I was. But those are the parts of me I refuse to kill off for anyone again. Because they're not weaknesses. They're filters. They keep the wrong people out. The truth is, you don't always get justice. But you can get distance. And sometimes distance is louder than any apology. She thought I'd never find out. But I did. And when I did, I didn't break. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just left. And I never came back. And that was enough.